Long ago, in the land where the Niger River bends like a resting snake, there was a village surrounded by tall trees and red earth. The houses were built from clay and mud, with roofs made of dry grass. Smoke rose from cooking fires every morning, and drums spoke to the sky every night. This village was called UMU-ALA, a place where the people respected the ancestors and feared the unseen world. The elders taught that spirits walked freely among the living. Some spirits protected the land, while others punished pride, disobedience, and foolish courage. From childhood, every child was warned of one thing above all else: never challenge the spirits. But there was a boy in UMU-ALA who listened with his ears, yet carried a restless heart. His name was OBINNA. He was not the strongest boy in the village, nor the fastest runner, nor the best hunter, but his eyes always asked questions. When elders spoke, he listened closely. When stories were told by the fire, he leaned forward instead of away. His father had died when OBINNA was still small, and his mother, Neka, raised him alone. She sold palm oil and yams in the market and warned her son each morning to walk carefully, respect elders, and never speak against what he did not understand. OBINNA always nodded, but inside him something burned. Each year, UMU-ALA held a sacred festival called the Night of Silence. On that night, no one was allowed outside after the moon reached the middle of the sky. Doors were shut, fires were put out, even babies were hushed. The elders said the spirits crossed the village on that night, counting the living and judging the hearts of men. Anyone who disobeyed never returned the same. Some never returned at all. When OBINNA was 15 rains old, the rains grew weak. The river pulled away from its banks. Crops dried before harvest, and hunger spread quietly. Children went to sleep with empty stomachs, and elders whispered with worried eyes. The village priest, Old Man Dyke, called the people together and said the spirits were angry. Goats were offered and a cow, but nothing changed. One evening at the market, OBINNA saw a young girl sitting alone, her wrapper torn and her eyes empty. Her name was Amara. Her brother had gone missing after the last night of silence. The spirits, they said, had taken him. That night, OBINNA could not sleep. He wondered why spirits who were said to be just would punish the innocent. The next morning, he asked the priest why the spirits did not speak clearly if they were angry. Old Man Dyke warned him to be careful, saying the spirits owed no explanations. But the answer did not satisfy OBINNA. As suffering continued, something hardened inside him. On the night before the next night of silence, OBINNA made a choice. While his mother slept, he tied a cloth around his waist and stepped outside. The moon was too bright, and the silence fell heavy. He walked toward the sacred grove, a place no one entered unless chosen by the spirits. The trees there grew thick, their roots like twisted hands. As he entered, the wind stopped, and a voice came from everywhere at once, asking why a child of dust walked where elders feared. OBINNA said he came because his people were suffering. When the spirits laughed and called suffering the language of life, OBINNA surprised himself by challenging them. He demanded they show justice or face him. The ground shook, shadows rose, and the spirits agreed to give him 3 trials. If he failed one, he would belong to them. When OBINNA woke at dawn outside the grove, the village knew what he had done. Fear spread, but OBINNA stood firm and said he would face the spirits for the hungry and the lost. His mother said nothing, only held his face as tears fell silently. That night, the wind circled the village without sound, and the first trial began. The earth swallowed OBINNA, and he found himself beneath a pale sky on a narrow path. An old woman, the keeper of memory, told him he would walk the trial of truth. With every step, OBINNA was forced to see moments of his life he wished to forget, times he lied, stayed silent, or turned away from pain. At the end, he saw what he could become if pride ruled him. When he accepted his flaws and chose to be better, the mirror shattered and he passed the trial. The second trial came the next night. OBINNA faced a giant warrior spirit of stone and bone who challenged him to fight. OBINNA had no weapon and was nearly crushed, but he stopped running and remembered his people. When he pushed back with all his strength, not for himself but for others, the spirit cracked and fell. He passed the trial, though his body was broken and weak. The final trial came under a sky with no moon. OBINNA was shown two paths. One promised prosperity for the village, but would erase him from their memory. The other would save him, but ensure he would never return. OBINNA chose the dark path without hesitation. The spirits laughed, and the darkness swallowed him. When morning came, the rains returned. The river swelled. Crops grew strong. UMU-ALA was saved, but OBINNA never returned. The village mourned quietly. His mother sat each evening facing the path to the sacred grove. Over time, strange things happened. Lost hunters found their way home. Children were pulled back from danger by unseen hands. Quarrels ended suddenly, as if something unseen had intervened. The elders understood that OBINNA had not become a spirit to be feared, but a watcher bound to the land. Years passed, and the story of OBINNA changed. It was no longer only about fear of the spirits. It became a lesson about courage, humility, and choice. The elders taught children to ask questions, but also to understand the weight of answers. They taught that tradition without compassion becomes blindness, and courage without wisdom becomes destruction. UMU-ALA never built a statue for OBINNA. They said some sacrifices were too deep for celebration. Instead, they honored him by listening more, helping sooner, and remembering that silence can also cause harm. On quiet nights, when the wind slowed over the river, Mother said OBINNA was passing by, not as a hero to be worshipped, and not as a spirit to be feared, but as a reminder. And so, to this day, the elders end the story this way. The boy who fought the spirits did not return, but because of him, the village did. After OBINNA chose the dark path and vanished from the world of the living, the spirits believed the matter was finished. The village of UMU-ALA was saved. The bargain was complete. A human life had been taken into the unseen, but the spirits had misunderstood something important. They believed OBINNA had chosen sacrifice out of fear. They believed he had stepped into darkness to escape pain. They did not understand that OBINNA had stepped forward out of love, and love, when carried beyond death, changes its shape. OBINNA did not wake in fire or chains. He woke in silence, so deep it felt like water pressing against the skin. He had no body, yet he felt weight. He had no breath, yet he was aware. Time did not move forward or backward. It simply surrounded him. At first, he felt nothing but loss. He felt the absence of his mother's voice, the absence of the village drums, the absence of warmth. He drifted, neither alive nor gone, watching memories pass like slow clouds. He saw UMU-ALA from above, then from within the soil, then from the surface of the river. He realized he was no longer standing in the world. He was inside it. The spirits came to him then, their forms shifting like smoke and shadow. They spoke without mouths and watched without eyes. "You belong to us now," they said. "You are bound." OBINNA did not answer. For a long time, he did nothing. He watched. He watched his mother grow older. He watched children grow tall. He watched the elders age and pass into the earth. And slowly, something began to change. Whenever danger approached UMU-ALA, OBINNA felt a pull like a tightening string. When a child wandered too far, something within him stirred. When fear crept into the village, his presence grew heavier. He did not command this. It happened naturally. The spirits noticed. "You interfere," they said. "I protect," OBINNA replied, surprised that he could still speak. "You were not given that role." OBINNA remembered the trials. He remembered the lies he had faced, the pain he had endured, and the choice he had made. "You took me because I chose my people," he said. "You do not get to take that choice from me." The spirits laughed, but their laughter lacked certainty. They tested him. They sent sickness again quietly, the way sickness truly comes. OBINNA moved through the village like wind through grass. He did not remove the sickness completely, but he softened it. The child lived. The spirits felt resistance. They sent division, planting anger between families. OBINNA pressed gently on hearts, reminding them of shared memory. The quarrel ended before blood was spilled. The spirits began to understand. OBINNA was no longer human, but he was no longer obedient. "You break balance," the spirits warned. "No," OBINNA said. "I restore it." This angered them. They summoned OBINNA into the deep unseen, a place older than names, where spirits gather like storms. There, they showed him the laws of existence, written not in words but in force. Spirits rule, they said. Humans follow. OBINNA did not bow. I followed, he said, until following meant watching suffering in silence. The spirits moved against him then, not as one, but as many. They tried to scatter him, to tear his awareness apart. But OBINNA did not resist with force. He anchored himself. He remembered the river. He remembered the soil. He remembered the people who spoke his name softly at night. The spirits found they could not remove him. He was tied to UMU-ALA, and UMU-ALA was tied to him. The struggle lasted beyond time as humans knew it. Seasons passed unnoticed by the spirits, but OBINNA felt each one. With every year, his presence grew stronger. He learned the language of wind, the patience of stone, the warning signs carried by birds. He did not command nature. He listened to it. Other spirits began to avoid the village. They felt something unfamiliar there, not fear, but resistance shaped by care. UMU-ALA became a place where disaster softened before arrival, where anger cooled faster, where warnings came early. The elders noticed. They began to speak OBINNA's name during prayers, not as a challenge to the spirits, but as a request for guidance. OBINNA who chose us, they whispered. OBINNA who walks unseen. The spirits were outraged. This must end, they said. He grows beyond his place. They gathered their strength and struck UMU-ALA with their full presence. The sky darkened at midday. The river trembled. Animals fled. This was not punishment. It was a test of dominance. OBINNA felt the strike like a tearing pain. For the first time since his transformation, he felt fear. But it was not fear for himself. It was fear for the village. He expanded himself then not upward, but inward. He filled the roots of trees, the stones beneath huts, the memories of the people. When the spirits pressed down, they found no single place to attack. OBINNA was everywhere they were not. The clash did not shake the earth. It reshaped authority. The spirits realized something terrifying. OBINNA did not rule by fear. He did not demand offerings. He did not punish mistakes. And because of this, the people trusted him more deeply than they had ever trusted the spirits. Power flowed toward him naturally, not as worship, as recognition. The spirits retreated, not defeated in battle, but displaced. They spoke one final warning. You will be remembered. They said, and memory makes gods. OBINNA answered calmly, then let me be one who watches, not one who takes. From that time on, UMU-ALA changed forever. A small shrine was built near the river, not large, not grand, just stones and wood. No blood offerings were made there, only water, grain, and quiet words. Children were told OBINNA was listening, not to judge, but to guide. When leaders spoke unjustly, they felt uneasy near the shrine. When travelers rested there, they felt peace. When storms came, they weakened before reaching the village. OBINNA had become something new, not a spirit of punishment, not a god of fear, but a god of guardianship. He did not erase suffering from the world. He did not promise endless comfort. What he gave was warning, balance, and space for humans to choose better. And that was enough. His mother lived to old age. On the night she passed, OBINNA felt her presence clearly for the first time since his transformation. She did not speak. She simply smiled. For the first time, OBINNA felt complete. Generations passed. Other villages heard of UMU-ALA. Some laughed. Some feared. Some came seeking protection. OBINNA did not expand his reach. This is my promise, he said. One people, one watch. And so the story spread, not as legend alone, but as lesson, that a boy who questioned became a guardian, that sacrifice shaped into strength, that a God born of love watches differently than one born of fear. And to this day, when the wind slows near the Niger River, elders say softly, OBINNA walks,